the economic rebellion, how women of color are redefining business success against all odds. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I want to start by acknowledging someone extraordinary, someone whose work has fundamentally challenged how we understand entrepreneurship in America. Alana Harper is not just a researcher or advocate. She is a revolutionary force reshaping our economic landscape. Through groundbreaking research that others were afraid to conduct and relentless advocacy that others lacked the courage to pursue, Alana has created pathways for countless women entrepreneurs who society told couldn't succeed. Her work doesn't just document disparities, it shatters myths and rebuilds possibilities. Without Alana's fearless dedication to truth, thousands of voices would remain silenced. Thousands of businesses would never launch, and our economy would be immeasurably poorer for it. We think we understand what drives economic growth in America. We believe we know what successful entrepreneurship looks like. For generations, we've operated under a comforting myth that business is a meritocracy where the best ideas naturally rise regardless of who presents them. But what if this fundamental assumption is catastrophically wrong? What if the most powerful untapped economic force in America is hiding in plain sight, systematically underestimated, underfunded, and actively suppressed? Let this sink in. Black women owned businesses have seen average revenue increases of 2.7%, dramatically outpacing the overall market. This isn't just impressive, it's revolutionary. These entrepreneurs are achieving extraordinary growth despite facing loan approval rates far lower than their male counterparts and interest rates significantly higher. This shatters everything we think we know about business success. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our economy is built on a foundation of selective opportunity, not equal access. The conventional wisdom suggests that business success follows a predictable formula. A good idea plus adequate funding equals growth. But the experiences of women entrepreneurs, particularly women of color, reveal a far more disturbing reality. These entrepreneurs aren't succeeding because the system works for them. They're succeeding despite a system that actively works against them. When I spoke with Alana about this phenomenon, she shared something profound that has haunted me ever since. She said, these women aren't just building businesses, they're creating entirely new models of success that challenge the very foundation of American capitalism. They're proving that the greatest innovation isn't happening in Silicon Valley boardrooms, it's happening in communities that Silicon Valley has deliberately ignored. This isn't just about individual businesses growing. It represents a fundamental shift in how entrepreneurship can function as a vehicle for community transformation and economic justice. Let me share a story that illustrates this point. Maya Johnson launched her tech company after 15 years working for major corporations where she repeatedly watched her ideas being attributed to male colleagues. When she finally decided to build her own company, she approached 27 venture capital firms. 26 rejected her outright. The 27th offered funding at terms that would have essentially transferred ownership of her company to the investors. Traditional funding closed its doors to her not because her business model was flawed, but because she didn't fit the narrow profile of what an entrepreneur should look like. The banking system, designed around the patterns of majority entrepreneurs, failed to recognize the viability of her vision. But Maya refused to be defeated. Instead of abandoning her dream, she developed a community based funding model that not only provided the capital she needed, but created stakeholders genuinely invested in her success. Today, her company employs over 50 people, primarily from underserved communities, and serves as an economic anchor that has revitalized the neighborhood banks had redlined for decades. This isn't an isolated success story. It's part of a pattern that fundamentally challenges our assumptions about what drives business growth. Maya's story is being repeated thousands of times across America, largely invisible to mainstream business media that remains fixated on a narrow definition of entrepreneurial success. The question becomes, what might be possible if we redesigned our entrepreneurial support systems to recognize and nurture this kind of innovation? What economic renaissance might we unleash? Alana's research reveals three profound insights that should transform how we think about entrepreneurship in America. First, resilience isn't just a personal quality, it's a business strategy. Despite systemic barriers, women owned businesses, particularly those led by Black and Hispanic women, are experiencing remarkable growth. They've developed business models that anticipate obstacles and incorporate community support as a core operational asset. This isn't just about personal achievement, it's about creating sustainable ecosystems that lift entire communities. Second, the funding gap isn't just unfair, it's economically devastating. Women entrepreneurs face dramatically uneven funding opportunities, with loan approval rates significantly lower than men's. When Black women receive venture capital funding at less than 1% the rate of their white male counterparts, we're not just seeing bias, we're witnessing the systematic suppression of economic potential on a massive scale. Third, diversity in entrepreneurship isn't just a moral imperative, it's an economic necessity. The startup landscape shows persistent gender and race gaps that limit innovation and restrict economic growth. When entrepreneurship is concentrated among a narrow demographic slice, we get narrow solutions to narrow problems. We miss the transformative businesses that could address our most pressing societal challenges. These insights don't just matter for the entrepreneurs themselves, they matter for our entire economy, for all of us. Think about it this way: if we're systematically underinvesting in businesses led by women, particularly women of color, we're leaving trillions of dollars of economic potential untapped. We're missing opportunities for job creation, innovation, and community development that could transform our national prosperity. This isn't just an issue of fairness, though it certainly is that. It's an issue of collective economic survival. Let me illustrate this with another example from Alana's research. The WW Bank conference in New Orleans has evolved from a simple networking event into a powerful engine for systemic change. Women entrepreneurs don't just exchange business cards, they create transformative alliances that challenge entrenched systems of exclusion. Alana described watching a Black woman founder who had been rejected by 42 banks connect with an investor who immediately recognized the brilliance of her business model. Within months, her company secured the funding it needed, created 37 new jobs, and developed a product that addressed a critical health need in underserved communities. These gatherings aren't about inspiration, they're about revolution. They're creating alternate pathways to success that bypass traditional gatekeepers who have failed to recognize the value these entrepreneurs bring. But conferences alone can't solve the structural issues that create barriers for women entrepreneurs. We need to address the deeper inequities in our funding systems. This brings me to another critical area Alana highlighted: the venture capital industry itself. VC firms have historically been among the least diverse sectors in business, with fewer women and minorities in decision making roles than almost any other industry. This homogeneity directly translates to funding gaps for women and minority led startups. The numbers tell a damning story. Women led startups receive just 2% of available venture capital funding, despite evidence that diverse founding teams deliver better returns on investment. Black women founders receive less than 0.35% of venture capital, despite their businesses showing remarkable growth potential. This isn't just unfair to the entrepreneurs being overlooked, it represents catastrophic financial malpractice by investors missing opportunities for strong returns. The good news is that change is happening, though far too slowly. New investment funds focused specifically on underrepresented entrepreneurs are demonstrating that inclusion isn't just morally right, it's financially imperative. As Alana explained, when investment teams include diverse perspectives, they recognize potential in businesses that conventional models miss. One fund that specifically invests in women of color entrepreneurs has generated returns 3.5 times higher than traditional VC firms over the past 5 years. This shift isn't happening nearly fast enough, but it is happening. And it's creating new possibilities for entrepreneurs who have been systematically excluded from traditional funding channels. What's particularly striking about these developments is how they challenge our conventional understanding of business success. For decades, we've celebrated a particular kind of entrepreneurial story, one that often features a lone visionary, usually male, usually white, disrupting an industry through sheer force of will. But the entrepreneurs Alana studies are writing a different kind of success story. They're building businesses deeply connected to their communities. They're creating collaborative models that distribute both risk and reward. They're demonstrating that business can be a vehicle, not just for individual wealth creation, but for community transformation. This isn't just a different approach to entrepreneurship. It's a fundamentally different vision of what business can and should accomplish in society. And it's working. These businesses aren't just surviving, they're thriving. They're creating jobs, generating wealth, and solving problems that larger, more traditional companies have overlooked or ignored. So, what does this mean for our understanding of entrepreneurship and economic opportunity? It means we need to radically rethink our assumptions about what drives business success. It means we need to redesign our funding systems to recognize and support diverse business models. And it means we need to celebrate and learn from entrepreneurs who are creating new pathways to prosperity. This isn't just about helping a specific group of entrepreneurs succeed. It's about unleashing the full creative and economic potential of our society. Imagine what might be possible if every entrepreneur with a viable business idea had access to the capital, mentorship, and support they needed to succeed. Imagine the businesses that might be created, the problems that might be solved, the communities that might be transformed. This isn't a utopian vision, it's an achievable goal. If we're willing to challenge our assumptions and change our systems, the entrepreneurs leading this change aren't waiting for permission or validation. They're creating new models of success right now, despite the barriers they face. They're showing us what's possible when determination meets innovation. The question for each of us is, will we recognize and support this transformation? Will we demand that our financial institutions, our government policies, and our business networks evolve to nurture rather than hinder these entrepreneurs? Will we invest in their success, not just with our dollars, but with our advocacy, our mentorship, and our purchasing power? The future of our economy depends on how we answer these questions. So today, I challenge you to leave this room and take one concrete action. Invest in a woman owned business, mentor a female entrepreneur, change your company's procurement policies to prioritize diverse suppliers, advocate for policy changes that address systematic funding gaps. Don't just applaud these ideas, implement them. Don't just be inspired, be involved. The economic revolution is happening with or without you. The only question is whether you'll be part of creating a more innovative, equitable, and prosperous future for all of us. Thank you.